A big announcement from the government today. They're going to be building 2 new reservoirs. I mean, they won't be in office when those new reservoirs are actually built, but they're the first ones in decades, amid warnings that within the next 10 years, some areas of the country could actually run out of fresh drinking water if we don't build them. I'm certainly just getting fed up of having rain most of the year and then being told I need a hosepipe ban because no one thought to build some reservoirs to contain all the water that pours onto our rainy island most of the year. Well, let's talk about this with Cat Hobbs, who's the founder of We Own It. They're a campaign group against privatisation and for public ownership of everything from the NHS, schools, water, energy and rail. Very good morning to you, Cat.
Good morning, Julia.
I'd say most of those are already in public ownership, aren't they? But there we are. We'll talk about that. Do you support these new reservoirs being built?
So great to have new investment. But the question is, we've had water privatisation. It was supposed to deliver new investment. It really hasn't. Now the government is stepping in. We haven't had a reservoir built for 30 years. They're stepping in. If they can step in to do what's needed, to take control of our resources, to do what's needed for the country, why can't they step in to deliver public ownership of water, which is what 8 out of 10 people want?
That's a different thing from changing the planning laws so that they can basically override local objection. Because everyone says, like, we need more houses, we need more energy, we need more water and reservoirs, but no one wants it. New pylons, whatever, but no one wants it near them. So they're simply changing the rules. So they've got the power to allow that to go ahead and to approve those. That's not the same as owning the water company.
Well, that's an issue, but they're also rubber stamping the water company's plans to increase all of our bills by 35%. So they've already had, these water company shareholders, they've already had £78 billion in dividends flowing to these companies around the world, mostly foreign ownership. And that's not money coming into the UK, going to shareholders. And they've had this debt mountain that they've built up of £64 billion, our expense. We've had Thames Water starting to crumble, and then the government propping it up, again at the expense of Thames Water region households. So we're all paying 35% extra. Effectively, it's a privatisation tax to prop up this system where we try to pretend that a natural monopoly like water can actually be a market.
Yeah, this is one of the issues, isn't it? Like, I'm largely in favour of the market producing better results for consumers. So you've got a choice, and people have to up their game. We've seen that with mobile phone contracts and the like. When one offers free roaming in Europe, the other ones get forced to do it as well. But as you say, where you've got the pipes, and the pipes that come into my home, the pipes in my street. I mean, if I moved from Thames Water to, I don't know, Southern Water, if that was possible, it wouldn't be a new set of pipes and a new set of water. It's the same sodding stuff.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people are very supportive of that, and the same with the gas and the electricity. However, what most people want when they say I want nationalised, they remember back to when it was all cheaper then. One of the reasons why a lot of our bills are going higher, not particularly the case of water, but is actually, again, it's lack of infrastructure, it's lack of investment, and a lot of that does cost money, and it would be the taxpayer paying for it if they were nationalised in the first place. So we're going to end up paying for it anyway, aren't we?
We pay for it anyway. The difference is when you have privatisation, you have effectively a tax on top of that, because as well as paying for the infrastructure, you're paying for the dividends of shareholders, and you're paying for that debt that they're building up at your expense, which is more expensive. The cost of investing with the private sector is more expensive than doing it through the public sector. But exactly as you say, we don't get a choice. And so what we're seeing is that across the board, we've had this ideological experiment saying we have to have markets in everything. Now, private companies, I know where you're coming from, Julia, they can do lots of things where you have a real market. But these are areas, these core things that people want to take back control over, and they're not. There's no market.
Well, there's a similar thing with rail, isn't there? Because if you want to get a high-speed train, there's only one company on the west coast or east coast mainland or to the west country. There's only one company that's operating those high-speed rail companies. And then if you want to get like a short hopper, that's a different company. But it's not a competition as such in terms for the same product. Like your organisation is called We Own It. Your argument is we already owned it. It was sold off. How would you get it all back?
So it varies. Where you have contracts, for example, the rail franchises, the government is bringing some of the railway back into public ownership right now. You can end a contract, bring it into public ownership. Where you have to buy back the assets because we sold them off wholesale, we sold off the family jewels, the crown jewels. That's a little bit more complicated, but it's not that complicated. Right now, the government's holding a review, looking at water. they've excluded the idea of public ownership, which is bonkers, because that is how 90% of the world runs water. Now, what you need to do is you need to actually hold the water companies to what they've said they'll deliver, penalise them when they pour raw sewage into our rivers and seas, when they leak water out of our pipes, when they fail to invest, as they have failed to invest for 30 years, and actually make it so that these water companies aren't a profitable market opportunity. You bring down the market value and then you can buy them back. And if you look at Thames Water, Steve Reed, the Environment Secretary, could already have taken Thames Water into public ownership. The shareholders were saying that it was worthless. The debt could have been slashed in half. Instead, he loaded that cost onto us, the bill payers, which is absolutely outrageous.
I mean, you mentioned
he had a chance to do it.
Thames Water, of course, covers a fifth of the population of this country. It's not just those, living in London. It's a fifth of the country. I think a lot of people have an awful lot of sympathy for what you have to say, and certainly when you've got foreign ownership, it's big, big equity firms, or actually, weirdly, foreign governments always have, and foreign companies have a stake in these companies, and they don't do the investment they should. They've got massive leaks. I mean, huge amount of water is lost to leaks. We've certainly
20%,
got huge amount. I mean, way more than I'm using on my lawn is going out leaking into my road. But also, not building the infrastructure, not building the reservoirs, at the same time as handing massive dividends and massive big bonuses. It should be a simple case. You have to have done all these things, and then if there's any profit left over, then you can pay some shareholders. I mean, I'd certainly want more controls on that. Cat Hobbs, I think you've been rather persuasive, I have to say. Cat Hobbs, founder of We Own It. Thank you very much for joining us.